I'm still confused with Johannes. So that means Johannesburg is refusing to leave me. You know? I profoundly apologize. It's refusing to leave. Profoundly apologize, the executive mayor, to be in your city and disrespect you. You know, so executive mayor once more of the city of Tshwane, our capital city of our country. She took over a municipality paralyzed by years of mismanagement, financial instability, and declining service delivery. Since then, each day of her leadership and that of the multi-party coalition has been defined by the determined pursuit of restoring dignity, functionality, and accountability to our country's capital. Over the past 9 months, the multi-party coalition has taken bold steps to reverse the tide of decay, from enhancing bylaw enforcement and tackling lawlessness to rolling out improved systems that ensure equitable service delivery for all residents, no matter what whether they're in the suburb or the postal code. We are beginning to see for ourselves what is possible when competent leadership is matched with political will. ActionSA, as part of this coalition in our city, has made every effort to contribute meaningfully to these achievements. We have insisted on accountability and demanded results to ensure that the professionals we deploy to lead the city and its key portfolios do so with a clear mandate to serve residents above all else. We believe that Tshwane, a diverse group of parties, has created above all else. We believe that Tshwane, a diverse group of the needs of the Metro's residents instead of being caught up in internal political squabbles. Dr. Moya's leadership reflects the standard of excellence ActionSA expects of all its public representatives. Like Athol Trollip, Steiner in Nelson Mandela Bay, and my own term in Johannesburg, our respective legacies where we have governed are built not on the rhetoric, but on results. And that is what is expected, and the record Dr. Moya has come to embody within this 9 months. My colleagues beside me will attest that I've made only 2 demands of anyone who wishes to lead on ActionSA's behalf in any capacity. First, there must be ethical, and second, they must wake up to each day with a single objective to maximize every hour in service of the people the way he lives. What sets us apart. I'm proud to see reflected in the work of Dr. Moya, along with ActionSA's MMCs, Councillor Hannes Kutsie here with us this morning, and Kolofelo Morudi, together with our other coalition partners, and really like to pay tribute to our coalition partners for the support they are giving us to date. Today, residents of the city of Tshwane are not simply told that things are getting better, but they can see it for themselves. Through ActionSA's new tracking tool, which Michael will speak about shortly, we are demonstrating how government should operate with transparency and accountability. True to ActionSA's commitment to putting people first, we have introduced a new model of public accountability. In Parliament, our MPs report quarterly on their work directly to the public. Today, we uphold that same principle by providing residents of our city of Tshwane with clear, measurable indicators of progress they can freely and easily access themselves on our website. Together with our coalition partners, we have made service delivery the heartbeat of this administration. Roads are being resurfaced, water infrastructure upgraded, waste collected more consistently, streets cleaner, and criminals are aware that the tide of lawlessness is turning. This is not a wish list. This is what is being done. This coalition government has become a model of what can happen when political parties set aside ideology to serve as a greater good. Tshwane is far from being perfect, but it is moving forward. And it is doing so because accountability has become the engine of progress. Fully recognizing that coalitions are inherently complex environments requiring respect, cooperation, even sometimes disagreements among partners, ActionSA remains confident that we can continue on this path of recovery for the capital city of our great country. We will continue upholding our strong principles of accountability, ethical leadership, good governance, and above all, putting residents first with an unrelenting focus on delivering results for our residents. It is for that reason, as ActionSA, we've developed a concept called service deliverism. For us as ActionSA, it's about delivering services to our people, and there's a reason why we're in politics. We're not in politics for nothing else than to ensure that we govern and we govern properly. It is for that reason, as we prepare for the 2026 or the upcoming local government election, ActionSA is determined not to be in opposition benches in municipalities we're going to contest. Because being in opposition, you can only make noise like we see opposition parties making noise. It doesn't really serve the residents. You can only serve the residents when you're in government. 29th of August, this party can only serve the residents when you're in government. 29th of August, this party is only going to turn 5 years old. So we're a new baby, but we're proud of our achievements as a political party, given the opportunity to be the government of our capital city. And we are proud of our executive mayor. Very big decision we had to really undertake at the time when we announced our collapse of our previous government that we supported, and decided to put and recommend Dr. Moya to our new coalition partners, and they embraced it, and without any doubt. And I'm happy to be biased. If ever anyone would think I am biased, I'm immensely proud of the work that this young woman has done for this city. Exceeded our expectations. I just want to share something with you that's very important, and it's on record. You remember when we made the announcement as ActionSA that we are going to remove the previous mayor and put in a new one. I'm on record to say the city of Tshwane, if we look at it from a financial point of view, if I was the director, if Tshwane was a business and I was a director thereof, we were going to call for the liquidation of the city. But obviously, the city, it's a city, you can't liquidate the city. That is why you need a new political leadership, and we recommended her. And I can tell you, she was nervous. I was nervous. My colleagues here on the table, all of us were nervous. But we wanted our city to work. And we are proud today that our city is actually turning the tide under her leadership and our coalition partners. And we are proud as ActionSA, like we did when we sent our 6 members of parliament to hold the GNU accountable. We therefore want you, the residents of the city of Tshwane, to hold us accountable, this time not as opposition. They must hold us accountable as government. And therefore, I'd like to give the floor to our national chairperson to share with you the tool we've developed ourselves so that residents of the city of Tshwane can hold us accountable not only on theory, they can hold us accountable on practical things happening in our city. Thank you very much. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Herman. A greeting to my colleagues up front, to members of the media who again have turned out in numbers to cover this event. We are very grateful for your continued presence in helping us share the story of the city of Tshwane with the South African people. And to those people who are following these proceedings from home, I greet you all. And it's wonderful to be here talking about service delivery and local government, because in South Africa these days, and it's wonderful to be here talking about service delivery and local government, because in South Africa these days, there is just simply not enough focus on the bread and butter issues of service delivery at a time in which the South African people, now more than ever, are looking for an example for electricity, water, roads, and the basics of local government being delivered. And we are very proud to be here talking about this issue. There's a wonderful anecdote that I'll share. Herman talks about the moment when we decided to participate in the turnaround of the city of Tshwane. In our Senate, we were having the debate, and it was a lot of people talking about how broken the city was and how difficult it would be to turn around. And our Mpumalanga provincial chairperson, Toko Mashiane, pointed to the slogan on our T-shirts, which you see on my chest, "Let's fix South Africa." It says, colleagues, how can we go around professing to fix South Africa if we aren't willing to try and fix its capital city? And that was a very strong moment for us as a party to realize the task that we had to undergo and the importance of that task. The decision to develop this tracker arises from a number of things that need to be put on the table. The first is that we are in a complex political environment where every day opponents of this government would like to share information that is false and misleading in an effort to mischaracterize the work of this government. You've seen videos of communities chasing after water tankers, which actually came from the previous government, but is being suggested that this was ours. You've seen videos of the state of Marabastad recently, when in fact that entire to the private sector to be rejuvenated in the mirror image of what Herman Mashaba did in the city of Johannesburg. But unfortunately, we live in an era these days where misinformation and the politics of lies often gets more attention than the facts and truth of government, which is precisely one of our motivations in doing this today. But our other motivation is that as a government, ActionSA wants to be held accountable. We don't want to operate in an environment where simply we engage with our voters every 5 years. We believe that must be a continuous process, and it starts with doing what, for example, this GNU government has never done, which is defining your priorities, which is codifying how they should be measured, and putting that out there to the South African people and civil society so that they can hold you accountable against those standards. And this is precisely the initiative that we will be presenting today. This government tracker is updated in real time. It is based on data that is shared with us from the city of Tshwane, and it will be something that people can go to our website right now and henceforth forevermore and measure how the city of Tshwane's new multi-party coalition government is doing. And we intend to share it warts and all in terms of the things that are going well and things that might not be going well. And from our point of view, this was vital. So if we can start going through the tracker, the first thing is it's broken up into 5 themes. Financial stability, which is obvious when you consider how broken the city was. Our president has referred to what the city would have been treated like were it a business when the mayor took over. And the stabilizing of that environment is critical from a point of view of tracking how we are doing. Infrastructure and service delivery for very obvious reasons. That's the bread and butter of local government, and that's where the rubber hits the road from a point of view of the residents of our country. Economic revitalization. It is no secret that the city of Tshwane is not immune from the economic forces of our country, that have left 44% of our residents unemployed and over 60% of young people. And that is why we need to create an environment in the city that is vastly more conducive to those kind of success stories. A safe and clean city.
There's a problem with that.
It's being addressed by the colleagues to my right. I'm actually quite pleased to say the technical fault comes from the 20-something-year-old to my side and not from the 40-year-old on the platform, which is a relief. But I'm sure he'll catch up in a moment. A safe and clean city, because this is a vital aspect. The lawlessness in our society is such that one of the most responded to issues that we get on a digital kind of campaign is the imagery of a mayor getting in there and tackling the illegality and lawlessness of the city. And then obviously governance and customer care. So we'll walk through this in greater detail, but of course this track is available to you, the media and members of society, to be able to have a look at yourself. When you talk about revenue collections and rounds, it was a situation when the government came into being in October 2024. It was collecting around 3.3 billion rand per month in revenue. We're very pleased to report that at the end of June, this has increased to 3.6 billion rand in revenue. And obviously with the new financial year coming in, notwithstanding the great many measures this government has put in place to protect residents from the increases of Eskom and Rand Water, we anticipate that revenue and its collection measures will continue to grow, because we must have an understanding we cannot deliver services unless we have the money to do so. I think one of the great success stories that we must talk about is the Eskom debt balance, which when this government came into being stood at 6.6 billion rand, a staggering figure when you consider that just in 2020, 4 years prior, there was zero owing to Eskom. But the city collected the money from residents for electricity and didn't pay it to Eskom, which in my opinion is criminal. That situation has now been reduced by 1.1 billion rand to 5.5 billion rand. And we will continue to track this because the residents need to see that this debt is being attended to, and we intend to be accountable in that regard. The percentage of billing based on actual meter readings has been stable. It was inherited at 91%. It increased to 93% on actual readings at the 100-day mark. It's back to 91%. And this is something we want to track going forward, because the gold standard of revenue has to be actual readings and reducing the extent to which estimations are being used. I think here's the big one, and that's the response to power outages. There is very clearly an aged infrastructure in the city of Tshwane. There is also a very deliberate effort to create the idea that power outages started in October last year, which I think we must all giggle at because that's just silly. And to realize that outages that are happening now are the product of years and decades of infrastructure neglect, but they are a reality. This city, much like Eskom, failed to ensure that supply kept up with demand. And fast-growing communities have outstripped the supply, and that's why outages have been a regular thing for people of Soshanguve and Centurion and other communities. But importantly, in October, 36% of power outages were being responded to within 24 hours, which of course is a very poor inheritance for Dr. Moyo and her government. That increased to 41% in April 2025 at the 100 days mark. And currently, for the month of June 2025, it was recorded at 99%, which we must say is an anomaly from our point of view. There was a particular reporting period where these things were being addressed very decisively, which we don't think that that real number is that high at the moment, but it is improving and is something we'll continue to track. And as we track this over a longer period of time, anomalies go away and you get a baseline that's much more stable for us to look at. What is important to say, and I know Dr. Moyo will speak about some of these interventions in a moment, is that one of the key areas of this budget was 300 million rand to critical vacancies. And their government's priority number one for the budget that started just 29 days ago was to prioritize the recruitment of the artisanal skills involved in addressing power and water outages. And I think that's a clear statement of intent that will see that number continuing to improve. The percentage of water leaks and sewer blockages resolved within 48 hours, that was inherited as well at 41%. It has increased to 47% at the 100 days mark, and there was a decline to 24% in the month of June. Again, the information we have is in the month of June, overtime is cut back by the city for the end of the financial year, and we anticipate that that number will grow consistently going forward, so that there's long-term improvements taking place. But the nature of a tracking tool in this instance is we don't change the data to fit the political narrative. We have to respond to the data in a scientific method, and that's what gives it credibility. If we look at the road state of the city of Tshwane, which is a huge problem that many residents correctly cite, the situation in October was inherited 6,357 potholes repaired. At the 100 days mark, 692 potholes were recorded. Faith in the customer care environment that I think certainly was inherited. The economic revitalization of the city is a significant part of the equation. If you look at EPWP, 7,300 odd employment opportunities reported at the 100 days period. That number has declined at the end of June to 3,596 again because of the financial year-end period. But this is going to be a priority of the city that we anticipate will continue to see growth. And important to state that this is a city that very proudly awards EPWP opportunities on a lottery system, so that it cannot be awarded to people based on their political membership, but rather on their rightfulness to access a fair system for short-term work opportunities. The percentage of grass cutting in the city of Tshwane, I know the opposition will be excited about this, and I think we should dish things out to the opposition as well, is there was 56% of areas receiving regular grass cutting at the 100 days mark. That has increased to 69% as of June this year. If we talk about the category of a safe and clean city, the number of streetlights repaired is a massive issue across the city of Tshwane. There are many communities who right now rightfully complain about large areas of streetlight outages, which has to be addressed over time and in the most progressive manner. But already 15,000 repairs was the baseline that was inherited at the time of the government being formed, and that number has increased now to around 22,000 streetlights that are operational and repaired. High-mast lighting has been a priority of this government, in particular where the baseline inherited was 0, but importantly that has increased now to 200. This is particularly important as a measure to address a lack of lighting often in formal communities and densely populated communities, where lighting remains one of the most important safety interventions that can be made. And we anticipate that this is something that will accelerate further under the work of this new government. The number of bylaw enforcement operations has been a hallmark of this government. I'm very pleased that the MMC of Community Safety is here. And we certainly raise our caps to him and the mayor, because the lawlessness in our city is being responded to with a level of operations from the mayor and her team that really is quite commendable. In October 2024, there were only 13 of such operations. In April of 2025, that number increased to 23. And as things stand, a staggering 87 is the number of bylaw enforcement operations that have taken place as of the end of June this year. And you will see the mayor in dedicated fashion on a Friday afternoon raiding businesses, checking their permits, checking their lawful operations, ensuring that the products and services they are providing to the residents of Tshwane are compliant with our bylaws and safety standards. And this is something that I believe the residents of Tshwane have particularly responded to, and something that will be accelerated in due course. In fact, there are plans in that regard that I'm sure the mayor will speak to in a moment and going forward. I think informal settlements and the servicing of those are particularly important from our point of view. Obviously, what we did is inherited a budget which did not adequately plan for the addressing of informal settlements. We don't need to revisit that, but that is one of the many reasons why we found the previous government unworthy of our ongoing support. And if you look at the number of informal settlements that are officially recognized or known, the amount receiving basic services has not yet increased because of the new budget beginning 1 July. If you go down slightly, you will look at the number receiving basic water services has increased in recent times, and we anticipate that this number will continue to grow rapidly as the new budget kicks in just a month ago. And I think finally, from a governance and a customer care point of view, one of the most remarkable steps that our mayor particularly has led with her multi-party government, and one we support continuing, are the number of mbizos and public engagements going forward. It is our view that government needs to be connected with not just the needs of communities, but the people themselves. And they need to be able to see themselves in their government. And certainly this was an area where previous governments have underwhelmed. In October 2024, an inherited baseline of just 5 such imbizos were had around specific issues rather than a general program. And this has been made a priority where in the first 100 days, Dr. Moya and her government rolled out 18 of these imbizos, and that has increased to 68 at the end of June as a part of a confidence-building program in the city of Tshwane so that people can see their government listens and their government responds to their needs. This is the tracking mechanism we have unveiled for the city of Tshwane. It is something we will build over time. We will listen to what people are saying. We might well be engaged to say that there are other requirements of this tracker that we should be putting in place. And certainly you can imagine when Auditor General reports come out, particularly when they reveal what we anticipate to be improvements in our governance procedures, those too will be added. But ultimately what we are committed to is transparency and accountability. We will put our business out there. We will say to the residents of Tshwane, this is what we regard to be important. And we will invite accountability. Where these numbers are growing in the right direction, yes, we will celebrate them and share them as a clear indicator to the South African people that there is a new political party that has a pedigree in delivering where other parties don't. But at the same time, it is vital for us to identify where things aren't going as well as they should, to own up to that, and to ensure that politically and from a governance point of view, we respond in a manner that is responsible. We have to deal with both sides of that sword, not just the side of achievements. From our point of view, we thank you very much for the opportunity to share this. We will continue to share this going forward, and we invite members of society to engage and to track this thing on a regular basis and to share their perspectives, because an instrument like this is only going to be as helpful as it is a measurement that they themselves can engage in going forward. So from my side, thank you very much indeed. We look forward to the ongoing engagements around this tracker, and I think now would be the time for the Mayor to come forward and speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. Good morning, Mr. President, the National Chair, Provincial Chair, colleagues in ActionSA, members of the media, and most importantly, the residents of Tshwane and citizens of South Africa. I think firstly, let's thank the media for being here to share this moment with us. I think what is more and more important is that as the parties that have the privilege of being part of coalitions, what is our contribution in stabilizing coalitions in South Africa? And I think the work that we do in government as individuals that have been given the assignment to be office bearers is just not enough. If the parties that deploy us, that support us on a daily basis, do not play their part as well in ensuring that coalitions in South Africa are stable, I don't think we can get far. So thank you, Mr. President, for leading us as ActionSA in clarifying our offer to South Africa, that when you have us in coalition, what kind of a party are we? And we do appreciate the focus on service delivery, Mr. President, that residents of Tshwane, I have heard them many times. They are so disinterested in slogans and promises. They just want you to do it. And whether it's perfect, whether it's not perfect, they just want you to do it. And I think the energy that we've been deploying with my colleagues in the MECO, together with our colleagues in the legislature in the city of Tshwane, has really been about, colleagues, let's wake up each and every day, do something in communities and take it from there. But in the spirit of today, we're talking about accountability and transparency in governance. I think what is, as I was preparing for today, Mr. President, there's an African saying that cracks me up, but I take it seriously. It goes, when you are peeling ground nuts for a blind man, you must keep whistling so that he knows you are not eating. So, so this African saying always gets me because there's a lesson of accountability there. If you are given a task to do something, you must always show that you are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. And this tracker is going to take us far. But in terms of where we come from is the Tshwane Coalition, and I think the first question that I received yesterday when the media alert went out, it was, is the coalition collapsing? No, the coalition is not collapsing. I think we can say that categorically. And there's a lot that we have been doing as the coalition partners to say the residents of Tshwane have suffered enough. They can't continue to suffer under our leadership, and therefore, in case and when we have disagreements, which we had, and we have to find ways to resolve those. But I think for us as the coalition, we have inherited a backlog in service delivery. That is not because of what I say, but what the residents have to live within their communities. And we can talk to the backlogs in terms of the institution itself. What is it that this institution called the Government of Tshwane was supposed to do and what was not happening? Mr. President reflected a lot on the issues of our financial management as the city. The city did not have a funded budget for 3 financial years. It makes sense to accountants when you put it that way, but to residents, how do we explain is that there were plans, service delivery plans that could not be funded because there was just no money. And that backlog has caught up with us because now we have to deal with very angry residents who are paying for services, but they are not getting return on their investment. The financial management of the city, or rather mismanagement of the city, led to a ballooning creditors book. We know the case about Eskom, where the debt ballooned from 1.2 billion to over 5 billion in a space of 2 to 3 years. And there was a refusal to deal with this because if we could get a deal with Eskom, that means that option was always available, but it was not taken up. We had a ballooning debtors book where the residents of Tshwane stopped paying for services. And for 2 reasons. One, COVID has hit us all, and there are those households that have suffered economically. But there's a protest that the residents staged and said, if you're not going to give us the services that we deserve, we're not going to give you our money. And so we had to deal with the debtors book as well. And also for us, the security of our revenue as the city, which then guarantees the delivery of services to the people, was severely compromised because of that. This financial mismanagement, you would see it on the creditors rating, where the city of Tshwane, even now, we are working on ensuring that we are able to borrow, so we are able to fund our capital budget. We could not borrow as this government for a couple of years because no lender will trust us with their monies if we can't even manage our own finances. For the first time in 2022-2023 financial year, this city received an adverse finding. It has never happened before. And after that, then 2 subsequent qualified audits. And that has really compromised the ability of this institution to be considered a trustworthy partner. And therefore, I just want to amplify what Mr. Mashaba has said, because if the institution is not healthy, you won't be able to deliver on your constitutional obligation. What it meant for the residents of Tshwane is that the service delivery deteriorated across the water leaks that often ran for weeks without any response, the potholes, the street lights that are dark because the municipality could not make an investment on street lights for 4 years. Hence, the city is still as dark as it is. The informal settlements where people were just left to a squalor in informal settlements. There's informal settlements that ballooned from 220 informal settlements to over 500 informal settlements in a space of 2 years. Ballooned to over 500 informal settlements in a space of 2 years during COVID. And the residents became angry, and justifiable so. And they continue to be angry because what I appreciate about the residents of Tshwane, they know their rights. And I truly appreciate about them. But also one that has really bothered me is then the businesses and the community organizations having seen a necessity for them to continue or to take over the role of municipality in providing basic services to themselves, which is something that any government should never allow, not if those businesses and those community members are paying rates and taxes. So all of this was just the background, and so we entered this government and we were not under illusion in terms of what is it that we were entering, but we had to have a very strong resolve in terms of what is it that we're going to prioritize. And it was not easy. I remember we were baptized with a crisis in November, a water crisis, and I'm grateful that happened because we matured very quickly as a team, where you realize that the crisis is bigger than yourself as an individual, that you need each other, but also you need to make sober decisions to overcome crisis. For a couple of months, our substations were engulfed by fires, and we could not explain what it is, and there was a temptation to look for conspiracy theories until we said, let's look closer to home, have conspiracy theories, and to home. Have we been repairing our substations the way we were supposed to before we start blaming other people? We started responding to that. And so all of those crises, we then had to respond to them as a coalition. And Mr. President, I can never underestimate the role of a strong coalition. Because if as coalition partners you start pulling in different directions, then you're not going to be able to make the strategic decisions and the unified decisions that you need to make, especially when you are in crisis. So we truly appreciate this tracker national chair, that as a party that is ActionSA, in an era where residents and citizens don't trust coalitions, or there's so much that is characterized in terms of coalitions being dysfunctional, being chaotic, as a party, what is our offering? Because it looks like coalitions are not going to go anywhere. What is it that we as ActionSA, we can contribute positively to ensure that the coalitions that we are part of are stable, and perhaps learn some lessons to other coalitions as well. So I'm very pleased that in the city of Tshwane, we will then, through our party, we will have this tracker that will look at what the government is supposed to be doing anyway, supposed to do every day, but have a structured way, in a way that can be easily reported to residents. But also we have made some progress, and we made a progress this coalition that of the priority progress that we want, one of those must be engagement with the residents of Tshwane. That if we leave them behind, we will be doing this for ourselves and not for them. So there is a concerted effort that of the 6 priorities that we've identified in the recently approved IDP and budget, one of those priorities is improved customer experience. Now, we look at residents as our customers. There's different ways in which you offer the service to your customers. And one of them is that they must talk to us. We must be accessible to residents. Whether it's me sitting up for an hour before I go to bed and responding to Twitter things and escalating service delivery, whether it's through our WhatsApp channels that we have launched, whether it's through the customer care centers that we are modifying so that it's easier for our residents to interact with in our customer care centers, whether it is about how just the staff and the officials of the city interact with our residents. We then said we want to continue this. Now, we have made progress in terms of the priorities that we've asked for as a last point. So we now have, and we've communicated this over time, As the city of Tshwane, and I think this should be assurance to residents, for the first time we do have a funded budget. But that funded budget is not supposed to only make us look good on media articles. It must start filtering into communities. What do we do with the funded budget? It must serve the communities. But we don't have a lot of money. So we started making strategic decisions. One is that of building internal capacity. We said instead of appointing NASI PPTY Ltd, can't we go approach an MOE, buy the equipment and give it to our officials? And we've taken that decision. We have taken a decision where we had, during an era where theft and vandalism is so rife in the city, we have over 1,200 security guards that were employed by the city and left without training, without PPE, and without benefits. And we've taken a decision to say, let's do what we promise people when we insource them, that is to restore their dignity. And we took a report to the last council meeting where we started phasing in the benefits, and the training of these security guards have started. And this is what we are doing to ensure that we don't only reduce the losses through theft and vandalism, but we are able to tap into our officials to do the work and to do less with the private sector when we don't need them to do the work for us. We have reduced the ESCOM debt by over 1.2 billion now. We're still on track. Because there's a court order that we are following there, so we're still on track. Rand Water, we are on track in terms of, we are one of the municipalities that even when we have our IGR meetings, they will start by saying Tshwane is not owing ESCOM, it's not owing Rand Water and Mahalis. And I think that's important because the mandate of a municipality, first and foremost, we must be able to give residents water and electricity. We have ramped up on our revenue collection. We communicated that we have raised over 99% of the projected revenue for the financial year. And those are the initiatives that we say, if we get this right, if we get our finances in order, if we continue to engage our residents, if we can share the plans that we have to grow the economy of this city, if we keep cleaning our city and make it safe, we will be able to give the residents the basics that they are looking for. Every Friday morning, Mr. President, without fail at 7:30, we summon the MECO, we summon the senior management of the city, where we really get into the details. And the question in those service delivery war room, which lasts for 90 minutes, is, are we delivering on the mandate that the Constitution and the residents of the city have given to us? And we believe that with all those interventions, together with the approved plans that were approved by council, that we will be able to take this city forward. But what is important is that accountability is not one way. It's not government saying, this is what I want to do, I'm doing it. Residents of this city must be engaged. We must see them in public meetings. We must see them taking advantage of the platforms that are available to them so that they can get quality service delivery. In my language, they say, so if you are quiet, you're likely to be dead somewhere there. So we don't want that for our residents. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moyer. I will now open up the floor for questions from the media. If you can please raise your hand and indicate your media house, and then pose your question. 1 and then 2. Go ahead.
About illegal developments. I know the city has, under your leadership, there in some movement on that. But is it not too slow? Because while the committee is sitting and preparing reports, these people are building more and more houses. How far is your administration prepared to go? Will it, if all else fails, demolish buildings?
Thank you very much, Antoinette. Patricia?
Fasad from SABC. Oh, sorry, I'm being mic'd.
No worries.
Oh, no, hold it. Okay. I'm Patricia Fasad. Are you happy? Are you happy? Okay. From the SABC. I just wanted to get more clarity. Obviously, the mayor just spoke about the coalition is stable. There is, according to her, no threat. But I wanted to find out from the other leaders, with some of the developments that we have seen in the last couple of months, perhaps weeks, days, the issue around the Tshwane city manager, Johan Mettler, seems to be a thorny one. And there's a lot of political noise in that space that sounds like it could produce some cracks in the coalition. As ActionSA, I know previously you have stated your position on this. Can you please just reiterate what your position is on the future of the Tshwane city manager and perhaps the other senior managers, the section, I think, 56 senior managers in Tshwane? What's your position on this? As some of them, are on tenterhooks. You don't know what's going to happen there. And there are political rumors that are very strong that the city manager's days are numbered and they want him out. As ActionSA, what do you take on this? What's your position on this? How does this affect the mayor? That's the one. The other is, we've also learned that there are plans to remove the mayor soon. Is ActionSA aware of these? Are you aware of some of these plans that are brewing, that they are first looking to remove the city manager and thereafter they're going for the mayor? Are you aware of this, what's happening, and what are the plans perhaps for the party to protect the city manager and the mayor should you be in that position?
Thank you very much. What I'm going to have to do is have Dr. Moyo answer the first question directed to her from Antoinette, followed up by Michael, and then Mr. President to do the closing. Dr. Moyo?
Thank you so much. So, Antoinette, the issue of the illegal townships, there's 17 of them. And you can appreciate the complexity because these illegal townships have been there as early as 2002. And the problem or the complexity has gone, has become so large that you've left the problem for so long that we can't then resolve it within 2 months. So what I can share with you, yes, you are correct. There is a submayoral committee that we put together to say we don't want to focus on one illegal township or the other. We need to treat these 17 illegal townships equally. So what they have done, they've already brought the report to the NACO in terms of what is the preliminary assessment of the 17. Obviously, for us as the municipality, we are guided by the bylaws and the legislation in terms of, for you to have a development, what are the preconditions and pre-requirements that a certain development must meet. And so they have already brought to us that. The second one was then to say, now that we have these preliminary recommendations, there are illegal townships that can be normalized in terms of their preliminary assessment, but there are those illegal townships that they don't have bulk infrastructure where they are on the urban edge. And we are then saying, can you please bring a bylaw that we can then take to council so that we can make these recommendations to council. So it's not too slow, because I think if we go too fast, we're going to miss steps. So we need to take a recommendation to council where we give council options to say, this is the assessment that has been done, this is the piece of legislation or policy that we can use should you agree with our way forward. One of the terms of reference to the submayoral committee is that they must engage the leadership of these illegal townships. If you know the illegal townships that I'm talking about, if you go to Moshate Gardens in Harangoa, I mean, those are mansions. If you go here in Louisfontaine, we talk about mansions. When you go there, you wish you can just normalize, but there is a message that must go to our residents and these pseudo-developers. This thing of grabbing land and hope for the best must stop. So we also, in our approach, don't want to encourage people grabbing land developing land, scamming people in the process, because most of these illegal townships, they are built on private land. So as council, we will have to be very circumspect in terms of what is the message that we are sending to potential criminals who may be saying, if they can get away with it, we'll also get away with it. So there is the stakeholder engagement that when they brought the preliminary assessment, we then say, go test the environment with these, the residents or the leadership in those illegal townships, and tell them that one of the things that we want to recommend is that they must contribute. If they would get to be normalized, how will they contribute to bulk? Because that bulk infrastructure cannot be paid for by other residents while they have done something criminal. So that's one of the things. So I don't think it's one thing that I would like to rush, but we did give a deadline that by September we must have a direction, whether to take the policy to council, but the work must continue in the background in terms of those terms of reference. I know that this is, the question is not to me, Patricia, but I think it's important that I also say it on record. I did put it also, but the work must continue in the background in terms of those, because we are working with the MAC of COCTA, and the last conversation we had with him was that he is working with the Minister of COCTA in how we approach as a country, how do we approach this non-compliance. But I thought it's important that I outline where we are in that regard. Of course, for us, the moment there's clarity in terms of what is the way forward, and by the way, just to say, this issue of non-compliance we're talking about to these Section 56 managers, it's an issue of the constitution of the panel. The regulation says you must have one councillor. But in all these interviews, and I'm talking about interviews that happened in 2022 and 2023, there were 2 councillors that were part of the panel, similar to the CFO in Ekurhuleni. So this is the non-compliance that the COCTA at province and COCTA national assist with. I thought it was important that I touched on that, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much. On the question of the municipal manager, we will not respond further as a party. We ventilated our opinion on the issue. It is a matter of public record, and particularly in light of our view that we should not invite unnecessary instability in a city that is starting to move forward for the first time in a long time. But in our view, this is a governance issue, and we'd like to draw a very big wall between governance and party political issues. The mayor's articulated a process, and we won't comment upon it further and afford her the space to lead the city and communicate as and when she's in a position to do so. As it relates to the question of a motion of no confidence, I think how it works in South Africa is the day you get elected as mayor, people start planning motions of no confidence against you. So I'm pretty sure whoever is planning this motion has been planning it for 9 months. I think they are very deeply disappointed by the progress that's starting to happen in the city of Tshwane. But we must understand the nature of coalitions are voluntary. People are free to come and people are free to go. And at any point in time, coalition partners may well decide that they want to follow that particular course of action. As a political party, the only security you have is whether or not you are delivering in such a manner that the residents would defend you and your record as a mayor. And what I will depart with as an idea is this. If you think the reaction to General Mkhwanazi was big, I'd like you to consider very carefully how the residents of Tshwane would respond to anyone who tries to remove this mayor, given the progress they're starting to see in their communities for the first time in a long time. And I wish that political party good luck in their idea.
Yeah, if you'd allow me, I would like to really touch on all the questions asked, already answered. I think to really also come from me directly, already answered. Also come from me directly, because obviously as the leader of the party, my statements obviously carry even much more weight. Let me start with you, Antoinette, regarding illegal townships. It's really going into politics at long last instead of running away from our country, because this informal townships, in fact, we developed a new terminology to think that they would look nicer. We call them informal settlements. These are actual squatter camps where people live without dignity. People live without dignity. People for 15, 20 years. From the time I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, and I see it developing here in Tshwane, where I keep asking myself on an everyday basis, and I'm unapologetic about this. Firstly, I need to understand, where's the South African Human Rights Commission, a Chapter 9 institution that has got a responsibility, a constitutional responsibility to make sure that the rights of South Africans are not violated. Because these informal settlements, these squatter camps, honestly, they're a violation of the rights of South Africans to live under those conditions. Secondly, and I think we need to really be true to ourselves as South Africans. For as long as we are prepared and accommodate undocumented foreigners in our country, we will never be able to resolve the housing crisis we are facing. Because if you look at when these criminal elements come into this country from as far away as Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, everywhere else in the world, and us as a country, the only everywhere else in the world, and us as a country, the only country in the world, we are prepared to accommodate them because we're nice people. We're the children of Nelson Mandela. Then this country will pay a price. Because when they come here into this country, where do they first go? Do they go to Otterkloof or come to Sandton where I live? No. They go to Alexander, they go to Mamelodi, they go to Amanskraal as an entry point. Our poor people are actually the biggest casualties of this lawlessness that our own government, including South African Human Rights Commission, is actually failing South Africans. Because there's no way South Africa will ever win the war against housing and address it adequately, for as long as we are prepared to really be godfather to the 8 billion people of the world. So, and unfortunately, if you look at our constitution, that's why for us as ActionSA, we've obviously submitted our contribution to the constitutional reviews, that this whole issue of saying South Africa, if you look at the preamble of our country, says South Africa belongs to all who live in it. And then you really then go to our Bill of Rights, where you find someone undocumented in our clinic, in our schools, in our hospitals, and when you must address this particular matter, the Bill of Rights says no. And you can't blame the judges in the judiciary, because that's what their Bill of Rights says, that you must provide services to everyone. Let me tell you something. Yesterday, I'll be going overseas in a month's time, in just over a month's time. Yesterday, my wife and I had to go and queue to go and get, in just over a month's time. Yesterday, my wife and I had to go and queue to go and get our visas. You know what are the requirements? I had to prove and produce medical cover. I had to produce my latest bank statement yesterday. You know, in the past, they used to ask you for 3 months bank statement. Today, they ask you even on the same day. Yesterday, I had to go to the bank to give me my latest statements. Why then is South Africa some kind of a test ground to see if chaos can succeed? Because basically what we are trying to do as a country is to promote chaos. And if we are prepared to allow it, then this country will pay a price. But fortunately enough, I represent a party, a political party that is saying undocumented illegal foreigners are not welcome in our country. This country was built at the back of migrants, and we want to encourage people of the world to come to South Africa, but they must come here legally, and when they're here, they must respect our laws. South Africa cannot afford at the moment to provide health care to our own people. Therefore, if anyone expects us to provide free health care to 8 billion people of the world, then ActionSA will be unapologetic against that. And that's what unfortunately leads to all these informal settlements. And obviously, because we don't live in a dictatorial environment where, or under apartheid national party government, where you can just remove people of Hammanskraal as and when you feel. You just wake up, you don't even have to tell them. And my family over the years have just been moved from time to time, not even get a decency of being informed that they were going to be informed. Today, unfortunately, in a constitutional democracy, before you move people, there are certain processes you need to follow. Patricia, regarding the issue of the city manager, I think Michael has covered that sufficiently. We, as a party, we like to leave this matter to senior managers. It's an issue that the mayor will properly address in a professional and proper and legal manner. And removing the issue of, regarding the issue of the removal of the mayor, I'm sure you're aware that process of the removal of the mayor actually started 2 months before the mayor was elected. As soon as I personally made the announcement that we are going to remove the mayor of the city of Tshwane, there was already a motion against her. I'm sure you remember very well. That campaign, massive campaign was launched against me, attacking me, insulting me. But fortunate enough, we are not prepared, longer prepared for people of Mamelodi, people of Atteridgeville, Ga-Rankuwa, Hammanskraal, not to get the services from the government which was reliant on our support. So obviously, if anyone wants to bring the motion of no confidence, we live in a constitutional democracy, and South Africa has entered the era of coalition. The city of Tshwane, no political party has got has got outright majority to govern on their own. And if anyone wants to come out with a motion of no confidence against our mayor, for us as ActionSA, we know that's something that we shall await with great anticipation. And as Michael said earlier on regarding misreading the mood of a country, anyone today in this country attacking General Mukhwanazi, to wait until anyone comes out with a motion to remove one of the most hardworking mayor, saving not only ActionSA members, for the first time to see the mayor who's saving all the residents of the city of Tshwane. So we shall await. Anyone is most welcome to really bring that motion of no confidence, and we will react to it as and when it happens. It's well and good to comment on rumor, and I'm one person, even in my personal capacity. Normally, when people want to engage me on rumor and gossip, I don't want to get deep into the details because I don't know what I'm dealing with. But the day when that motion serves, that's when ActionSA will then deal with the reality of our situation and communicate our response thereto. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, members of the media. That brings the presser to a conclusion. The opportunities for one-on-one will now be available. Just indicate who we'd like to speak to. There is a question online, but I'll just to Mr. President privately and just respond to the journalist in that regard as well. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you, everyone.
Single mock up your presentation.
Thank you. There's nothing better for the opposition than an offline image when we're talking about our government.
Which had an urgent engagement. Do you need anything?
He will assist you.
Daily Sun Airshore? Absolutely. If you have any specific, I can give a spokesperson to call you.